Sometimes you just need somebody to crack some skulls. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and sometimes people accuse me of romanticizing this whole bureaucracy thing, making it sound like it's a noble pursuit with these well-meaning people doing good things. Well, it's not. It's a brutal, bruising contest where the rules are constantly changing, and the only constant is that everybody wants more, and they are perfectly happy if that means that you get less. In this environment, most people adhere to some version of something they call "it's all about relationships." The general officers in particular try to get things done without getting any blood on the floor. But among the people wandering the corridors of the Pentagon, there's this unique character that I call the enforcer. I call him the enforcer because he's a lot like the enforcer in ice hockey. See, over the years, a lot of professional hockey teams have had a goon or a thug on their team whose primary job was to fight. But this brawler is not just prowling the ice looking for somebody to get in a fight with. In fact, most of the time, he doesn't even get to play because usually these aren't exactly the world's best hockey players. Instead, the coach deploys the enforcer to punish members of the other team who are playing too rough. Somebody slams the star rookie into the boards too hard, the enforcer is going to teach them a lesson. The refs don't see them high-sticking one of our boys. Well, don't worry, the enforcer will take care of that. And in the halls of the Pentagon, we have our own kind of enforcers. Mean SOBs with a lot of professional frustration and anger that they need to work out, and they are only too happy to do a little dirty work. Now, the reason I bring this up is because when you run across him, and he usually is male, you're going to have to deal with him. The first and most important situation where you're going to have to deal with this kind of character is when you're his boss. Here, the most important thing is recognizing that he is an enforcer and then using him appropriately. I mean, you get some brand new lieutenant colonel and you put him on a routine project, and then you realize that all he ever really does is upset every single person he comes in contact with. You're going to want to bench him. Don't. The first thing to do is counsel him on what an enforcer is and what they do. I explained that he's not supposed to start fights with every single person he comes across. He's supposed to start fights with the people I tell him to start fights with. And second, I kind of look around. Is there a project where I want to be ruffling feathers? Because I got a new guy for that project. Are there members of my team who are getting scuffed up by other offices and meetings? Meetings where my new enforcer could make a guest appearance and make it absolutely clear that we don't have to do this the easy way. My experience has been that these guys love this role. The second situation where you can run across an enforcer is when another office deploys one against you. Now, enforcers are kind of like code talking in a meeting. I've explained this one before, and you can click this or see the link in the description. But even though they're easy conference room tactics to use, most people aren't really using them. The other office doesn't necessarily think we're going to use this thug to perform this task. Instead, they kind of end up aligning him against the things they care about almost by accident. So when you do find yourself on the other side of the table from an enforcer, recognize two things. A, this is an issue that his office is afraid to lose. And B, don't fall for anything the enforcer says. He's likely to attack you with a hail of punches from 1,000 different directions. Most of what he says doesn't matter. He's just trying to get you to back off. But you might want to dig in and figure out why his office is afraid of losing. You might be able to form an alliance. And finally, when you're facing an enforcer, be wary about getting drawn into escalation with him. If if you respond to his combative approach with even more high-spirited aggression, the odds are that things are going to spin out of control and the project's going to unravel. So keep your cool. The third scenario where the issue of the enforcer might come up is when you are the type of person who acts like an enforcer. I gotta be honest, people are not gonna like you. They are not gonna be happy when you show up to meetings. That might bother you, but look, be genuine. We need you and we need the skills you bring. The other thing about being an enforcer is you might have to coach your boss. You might say, look, I don't always play well with others, so do you have any projects where you need to take a hard line rather than be diplomatic? And then finally, if you are the enforcer type, do not attack your own team. Don't be the kind of guy that creates messes that the GO has to clean up. That makes the difference between being a beloved member of the team and just a rabid dog that needs to be put down. Oh, and the other thing about being an enforcer that can be particularly useful to your boss is that he can publicly punish you as a peace offering to other offices. If that happens, just enjoy your time in the penalty box. Now, there is a fourth and final scenario where understanding this role of the enforcer is important. It's when you are not the natural brawler, but your boss taps you to do a little bit of enforcing. Sometimes you just gotta walk into a room and be insufferable. I particularly remember this one time my GO sent me up to a DoD meeting to put the brakes on something the Air Force was doing. It was not comfortable sitting in a meeting with 27 people, none of whom I'd ever met before, some who'd flown from Europe just to attend this meeting, and then getting into a shouting match over things that nobody really understood, least of all me. But it had to be done. The cost estimates were sloppy, the rationale for the costs was poor, and it was a big bill. So when you've got to do enforcement, do it. Look, the enforcer is a vital member of the team. He deserves to be understood and used appropriately. Now, if you want to learn about another valuable member of the Pentagon team that is often misunderstood, check out this video.